Welcome back to the She Suite Society, the podcast where we celebrate the real, the raw, and the remarkable journeys of women who chose to bet on themselves. I'm your host, Dahlia, and today's guest is someone who lost her home twice and will tell you it was one of the best things that ever happened to her. Sass Schaeffer is a life coach for women in their 40s, the founder and CEO of a lifestyle brand, and a woman who spent 15 years climbing a corporate ladder before the universe made it very clear it was time to do something different. And by very clear, I mean layoffs, flooding, homelessness, and starting completely from scratch. What she found on the other side of it all was something she hadn't felt since she was a kid: herself. This is a conversation about surrender, about what it means to stop managing your life out of fear and start trusting it, about happiness as a skill you build, not a destination you reach, and about what happens when you finally decide to hang in the saddle no matter what. I want you to have a notebook for this one. Let's get into it.
What do I do today? Gosh, that changes day to day. But the big picture is, my big picture is I help people enjoy their lives and have fun. I really do. I help people feel happy and enjoy their lives. That's really the core thesis of all that I do. The expressions of that are I do coaching for women in their 40s who are in transition. And I'm also the founder and CEO of a lifestyle merch brand. And so between those two hats, I keep my dance card full and my heart pretty happy.
So you said you grew up, did you say you were born or grew up in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, most of my life in PA. Yep, until my 30s. Yep.
Nice. Where in Pennsylvania?
I grew up in a small town in Berks County, like outside Kutztown. It's a pretty small town. But then I spent most of my professional life in Philadelphia.
Oh, in Philadelphia. Nice.
Yes.
Did you go to school there?
I did. I got my MBA at Temple. I was living and working downtown. I managed dialysis clinics at that point in my life. And so I had clinics in Center City, Philadelphia, and I was in the healthcare corporate world for 15 years.
It's a long time to be in that world. And
Yeah.
that world is constantly changing. Is
Uh,
that what you went to school for and thought you would do forever?
Yeah, so I started out in psychology thinking I wanted to be a therapist. And I worked, my first job out of undergrad was I worked in a psych hospital, so a locked unit for adolescents. Everyone was suicidal, homicidal, actively psychotic. I was in my early 20s. It was a lot. It was a lot. And I was like, I can't do this. This is too much. So I shifted to nutrition and I became a registered dietitian and I started working in hospitals and dialysis clinics. And then in true corporate fashion, if you show any desire for leadership, I started managing one clinic and then another. And then I started the corporate ladder. And then, it was really just like next promotion, next title, next pay raise, next promotion, next title, next pay raise for about 15 years. And it was great. I helped a lot of people. I did a lot of cool stuff. But I think like a lot of women in my mid 40s, I was on the cusp of realizing I needed something different. And then the universe handed me a couple of situations that made it very clear that it was time for me to have a change.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I was just on a call with somebody and they don't want to call it midlife crisis. I agree.
Mm.
Or like they called it a midlife awakening. And
Okay.
that's what they're, and I'm like, I could see that. I just wonder why it happens in this way. Do you suppose it's a combination of life experiences versus your own motivation that just leads you to this by the time you're in your mid 40s?
I do. And I think there's this documented idea. I just finished reading like the second mountain that a lot of us, right? We spend the first 20 years of our lives doing what we should do. We get the career, the family, whatever you were raised to feel is like what you should do. You do all those things. And then you realize when you reach all of them that like, I should be happier with this, right? This was the whole goal. Why aren't I happier with what I've created? I know I felt that. And then I think for women too, whether you had children or you didn't, I think there is a shift, right? When this perimenopause, right, our brain is remodeling. There's a shift where you're like, I'm no longer, whether you had kids or you didn't. I had a daughter late, so she's still young, but there's still the shift of like, I kind of feel like my job of nurturing the world or doing for everybody else, like, I feel like it's time to put that to bed and to just focus on myself. And then those things converge, and then great podcasts and your work and other people's work in this space kind of opens up that conversation. I think makes it more free for women to be like, hey, I'm in my mid 40s and I could be doing more. I could be happier. Or what about the dreams that I shelved while I was doing, X, Y, and Z for all these years?
Do you feel like you had to learn a lot to get to
Oh,
that point?
oh my
And
gosh.
what was the hardest thing for you to
Yes.
unlearn?
Yes. I remember there was a moment during, like, I guess I'll say my own awakening before the universe kind of handed me the big wake ups that, I wouldn't have been able to ignore, where I really felt a sense of surrendering. Like, I remember I was walking from like my bedroom into the kitchen, like cry thinking about it, right? And I said, I surrender, right? I give up control. And it wasn't this like give up, like I give up on my life, but like I have been making things work for 20 years, making my parents and the relationships and the husband and the corporate. And the answer was always push more, work harder, faster, now better. And I wasn't, and for all that work and all that control, I wasn't really happy. Right. And so I just remember the moment of being like, you know what? I surrender. I surrender to life. I surrender to the universe. I surrender to this life not looking like I thought it was going to look. And that, those sometimes it's those small moments that are actually the big ones that make a huge difference and are the real turning points. It's not these huge moments, it's those little moments of clarity within ourselves that make a difference.
Did you feel reliefs or did you feel frightened or all of the above? Like it's like exciting, scary,
Yeah.
but also like
Yeah.
crazy. You feel crazy in some ways.
Yeah.
Also, you feel like you are getting another shot at
Yeah.
your own, this time at your own life by doing the weirdest thing, which is surrendering, which is what
Yeah.
we, not, I shouldn't say weird. It's perfect.
Sure. But
Perfect word.
yeah, it's different, right? And for a lot of women, we are used to managing and, it's kind of control. We call it love, but it's because we're afraid, right? So I already was afraid. If I wasn't afraid, then I would have trusted things, would have trusted my intuition. But I was already kind of terrified that my life wasn't going to be good or I wasn't going to live up to whatever picture I had in my mind. So the fear was already there. And I think when I surrendered and opened myself up to not going back to corporate, right? Coaching, going after, right? The lifestyle brand I've been dreaming about for years, right? Doing stand up comedy, all these little things. It
Shut the
actually,
front door. Stand up comedy. I
yeah,
love
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
Right. But these little, and that's it. Like sometimes the dreams we have are like like I've talked about like a watercolor class, right? Like sometimes the dreams we hold in our heart are not curing cancer or making $1 million, although those are noble things, right? But they're the small things that we have in our hearts that matter to our short time on the planet. And so yeah, right. At first, I was just thinking about it was like going off the end of like the swings. When you're a kid and you're on the swings, and you're like, what happens if I just like keep going, right? Like if I just untether myself. And yeah, it takes time and there's still, right? I still have a lot of fears. There's still weeks where I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to have the money to do X, Y, or Z? Or what if the clients don't come? Or what if this doesn't take off? But I've built up enough practice and I've trusted myself enough that it's like a muscle that I'm like, that's just fear. That's old programming, right? And I have a body of evidence now of proof of like all these things seemed impossible and somehow they worked out, right? Without me manipulating, controlling, playing 4D chess, telling people, right? Just by being myself, things have been working out pretty good. So maybe I should just keep being myself and trust that things are going to keep working out however is best for my true purpose in life.
Were you like that as a kid?
Like what?
I want to say adventurous and free spirited.
Yes. And then then I hit my 20s and 30s and I put myself in the box of like, I should get married. This is a stable person. He seems like a safe choice. I didn't marry because I was madly in love. Sorry if you heard that. He's probably not surprised. Right. But I married because it was safe. It was time. I was 34. It was time to get married. He was better than the last guy I dated. Right. So I did make a lot of choices then in my 20s and 30s trying to conform. But when I was a kid, I kind of always knew that I was going to be different. But I kind of allowed the world, society, my parents to put me in that box. And I thought, well, okay, everybody knows better. They know what's best for me. And I'll just do that. And I did that for 20 years. And right, I had good people. I was in healthcare. I made a difference. I'm hoping I helped people along the way. But I really wasn't being true to myself. And I think too, we hit our 40s. I started thinking like, right, I'm going to die. And I can't imagine a bigger regret than dying with my dreams, right? Than dying without doing these things. And that's enough, right? Just thinking that, hey, I'm not going to live forever. This is my one shot. I want to go for it.
Because what do you have to lose?
Yeah.
You got a lot to lose if you don't try.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
say that that's like the number one regret
Mhm.
on old I will say older people's deathbeds because I think younger people don't have those same regrets. But
Yeah.
the older people on their deathbeds, the number one regret is the way they spent their time
Yeah.
and living somebody else's dream, I guess. I don't know whose dream it is to be in corporate, but somebody else's dream.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it just becomes easier, right? Like, I like these conversations. And I also want to say that, right, like you have to kind of stand up against the tide. It's not just a matter of like, oh, I'm a weak person or I'm not motivated. No, the world is designed, right? Especially if you kind of buy into it. Like the world is designed to, especially now with screens and media and like you're so busy, right? To just you get up, you load the dishwasher, you go to work, you take care of the kid, you go to sleep, you do it all over again. Like that is the autopilot. Is very easy to lose 10, 20, 30 years, a lifetime in that. And it does take a lot of courage to stand up and say, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm just going to follow things that make me happy and that are good for the world. And I trust my intentions. It takes a lot of strength to stand up and do that. It really does.
Do you suppose it's a bubble? Meaning not everybody faces that reality. Almost like some people really never see it in their 40s
Yeah.
or 30s or 50s, and they just kind of live in the same rinse repeat, and
Yeah.
they're okay with that. I'm not even sure they're actually okay with that. I haven't bought into the fact that they're okay with that. I just wonder what makes you different in the
Yeah.
capacity that you are able to sort of snap and see it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree, right? I don't think, if people were truly happy, the drinking, the vices, the scrolling, the zoning out, right? We wouldn't have those issues because I know happy, healthy people, right, aren't drinking till they black out or aren't drinking every weekend or aren't sitting on their phone for hours at a day or aren't, yelling at their spouses. Because right. So I think we know that. And I think that's right where all these other vices come out is we're trying to soothe ourselves, right? We're trying to like numb out. I know that's what I did. I drank for 20 years. Very normal drinker, right? But it's what allowed me to keep myself kind of numb now enough to not be totally terrified that I was wasting my life, right? Like it was just easier to come home and have a cocktail and just kind of zone out and phone it in. And then I think all of us, we have these situations that are handed to us and they're often wrapped up as a tragedy or something that is unexpected event, whether it's a diagnosis or right, like for me, I got laid off 2 years in a row from corporate and my house flooded 2 years in a row. Second time I was homeless, the house got demolished, 4 feet of seawater, you couldn't go home again, right? There was no going back. The contract I worked on for 10 years, it got doged, canceled, right? Like 10 years of work erased. So we have these moments in our life, whether it's a divorce or a diagnosis or right, a layoff, where the universe opens that door to us, where you're like, shoot, I could, right? Do I walk through the old door or do I just kind of scrabble and put my life back together? And I didn't hang in the saddle and choose the hard route, right? I had other times when my life broke and I was like, nope, just go back to what you're doing, like pretend it never happened. And
Mm.
this was a time, I remember saying to myself, like, this is it, Sass. Like, we are doing this, right? Like, we are not backing down. We are going to figure this out and get healthy and live a happy life, or we are going to die trying. Like, there is no more going back to the old way. I don't know what the new way is, but it's gone. We have to hang in the saddle and stick with it no matter how hard it is this time.
Just awfully brave. It is. I know it's almost like, well, what choice did I have? But you did. You had several choices. And I
Yeah.
think it's awfully brave to
Mm.
just, especially when everything is demolished around you, to still choose that path. Uh,
Yeah.
looking back, hindsight, what,
Mhm.
what's your take on you then versus now?
Yeah. It's funny too, right? You can look at pictures and I might be 10 years older and I look 10 years younger.
Isn't that
Um,
weird how it works out?
oh, weird. I know that's right. To women, it's the fountain of youth, right? Find your purpose, live for yourself. And boy, yeah, just be more comfortable. Yeah, I think the biggest difference for me is that I'm finally living the way I wanted to in my mind, right? Like I've been social, I'm an outgoing person, but I always was more concerned about what do people think of me? Are they judging me? Are they critical? And so I would be outgoing, but then I would be like snarky, or I would, right? Or I would try a project, but like I would go all in. And so I think now the biggest difference is, the picture I had of myself at, 16, 17, that woman who she was, like I finally match how I pictured myself before I kind of gave up and, into the ways of the world. And that, right? Like that is happiness. Whether or not the $1 million or the brand takes off or the coaching clients come, like, okay, whatever. The fact that I look at myself in the mirror and like, I am happy with who I am. I'm a good role model to my daughter. 17-year-old me would think I was a total badass, right? Like that's what matters. And that's enough. And that really is enough, more than the grad degrees, more than the house, more than the perfect marriage, more than any of those things. Looking at myself and being like, I freaking like me and I like you too, right? And because I like me, I like you and I like the world and I go to sleep peacefully at night. Like there's no price on that.
It's when you reflect and you're in your 40s and you're like, okay, got to make a change. Fast forward to your 80s. What do you
Mm,
what do you think your 80-year-old self would say to you?
yeah. I hope she still thinks that I was a badass in my 40s. I heard
I'm sure she would.
Cher recently said that it stuck in my head. Cher said that she wishes she'd been badder. Cher wishes she'd been badder. I'm like, oh gosh, I got ways to go. Yeah, I think that, at first when I first kind of awakened, it was like, oh, I'm so old, right? Like this is I wasted my 20s and 30s, right? Like, oh, and now that I'm in it, I'm like, I'm 46 and kicking. Like you can't tell me different. And that's just a number. And so I think 80-year-old Sass looking back at me now is going
80-year-old
to say,
Sass, real
right? Like
80-year-old Sass.
lots of time. You did it right. And that I'm proud and that it was just the right timing. Everything, right? That everything was just the right timing. And just super thankful that I finally hung in the saddle. So I always think you just got to hang in the saddle. I hung in the saddle and, yeah, 80-year-old Sass. That's funny.
You enjoy your life. And I would imagine if you've reached this level of being able to enjoy your life, that doesn't mean every day's easy. That just means you enjoy what you're doing and you have more good than bad in every day.
Yeah.
So I would imagine if you live the last part of your life like that,
Yeah.
I personally can't comprehend what that person would think of you back then. Because
Yeah.
that's a long ways from now if you think about
Yeah.
it.
I do. And that's been something that actually has come up. So that's a great point, right? Is like yesterday, I was like, I think I had a perfect day yesterday. Like just
Wow.
right. And because the expectation for a perfect day is like I saw people I cared about. I helped someone. I moved my body. I had a loving interaction with my daughter, right? I ate good food. Wow, I slept in a bed, right? Like, the expectation and the gratitude is so big. And then I think, geez, if I could have the rest of my life like this, and I've been thinking for a couple of years now, maybe not always during the flood times, but right, like what a life if every day I could just be thankful and helpful to the world and, right, like just I slept in a bed, I ate clean food, I moved
That's
my
true.
body, I helped people, right? Like, honestly, what more could I want with life? Like that is like I have reached it. This is it,
Yeah.
right?
You heard the phrase, what you focus on is what you follow. And it's almost like if you focus on that gratitude every day, you just get more of it. It's an actual effect. I don't remember the name, but it's
Yeah.
like the red car. You get a red car, and all of a sudden you're seeing all the red cars, whatever
Yes.
that effect is.
Yes. Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
What does a
Yeah.
bad day look like for you?
A bad day is when I slip into bad days when I slip into old Sass. You know,
Ah,
it is.
okay.
And I'll say last week, I was struggling last week. And it's funny now when I have a bad week, I have to remember that's usually like I'm like molting, right? Or like I'm letting go of like old programming or an old piece of myself. And boy, she holds on and she puts up a fight and she says, what about this? And what about that? What if the clients don't come? And what if nobody buys the t-shirts? And what if you're a loser for the rest of your life? And what if you always live in that condo and you never buy a house again? And right, she's got a million questions. And so that's a bad day. A bad day is when I give in to the old doubts and worries and fears. And I don't live my life with gratitude. And I will say I was not grateful. I had a house. I had a big old house on a corner lot with a swimming pool. And you know what I did? Oh, I gotta make dinner tonight. Laundry, laundry again. I gotta do dishes. Oh, I hate this place. I literally would say those things. And then you know what? I lost the whole house and I was sleeping on a mattress in a 10 by 10 room with my 9-year-old daughter. And I was pissed. I was furious. And I felt like I had nothing. And then that's where the gratitude came. I'm alive. I have clean water. We are not currently being bombed, right? And I really had to lose everything to be grateful for it. And now, like, I look like a weirdo. I'm with people. I'm like, this food is amazing, or like, oh my god, I slept in a super comfortable bed last night, a big king bed, all by myself. It was amazing, right? And so, for me, I had to lose everything to be thankful for the little things. And if that's the way that I had to learn the lesson, then it was worth it.
Not a weirdo to me. I agree with that. I live the same way, only my kids think I'm weird. They're like, "Why
Yeah,
are you so happy about
I
the
know.
littlest things?" And I'm like, "I got to snuggle with my cat today. He is so cute, and that makes me so happy."
Gosh, amazing. Yes, I love it though. I love it. I'd rather be
It's
this.
a
I'd
better
rather
way
be
to
this
live.
way. It is.
You're right, though. It does take losing things. I don't know anybody. Truly, I maybe it's because I've never met a monk before, but I don't know anybody that was just born that knows how to be that without having to go through some serious loss. I'm sorry you had to lose your home. I can't fathom what that must
Yeah.
be like, whether flood, fire,
Yeah.
tornado, whatever happened. Like, that's horrific to watch all your stuff go away. You
Yeah.
said twice too.
Yeah. Yeah. It flooded and then I rebuilt. And then 6 months after I rebuilt, I lost everything. So
Oh my
right.
gosh.
And then you're like, it's the time, it's the money, right? Like I just spent, right. And yeah, it was crazy. And the first time it happened, I was like, what a blessing. I lost everything and I rebuilt the house and everything's going to be perfect. Like pretty bow. I learned
Yep.
a lesson. Thank you, universe.
Yep.
And then, 6 months later, 4 feet of seawater in your house. I saved my daughter's toys, and that's about it. I lost every pair of shoe I own. Like, right? Like you just start like, I had one hair tie and it broke, and I like dropped to my knees at the grocery store and was like, that was my only hair tie.
Oh my
You
goodness.
know? But looking back on it, you look at those things, right? I worked in healthcare, people who have, incurable diseases, right? And you're like, and they're happy. And so, if you look at people who have gone through health scares, loss, right? All these things, and you can find a way to be happy, then I really believe that it is something that is for most of us is built, and it is a choice. And it's a choice that gets stronger every day you show up and you make it. And then that becomes the new normal. And if that's what it took for me to get my head out of my ass and be thankful, then okay, I'm thankful that it happened.
Yeah, I mean, silver linings, blessings in disguise. You said the universe gave you certain things. Is it those, or were there other things?
Yeah. Yeah, that was it. The 2 years in a row, right? So I got divorced during COVID. And I had spent a lot of those years after the divorce of like building my life and really investing in my career and like this is it. And then 2 years in a row, I lost the house and I lost my job. And that was it. And I look back and I say, oh, I lost almost everything, but I didn't, right? Like I have a 9-year-old daughter, like she is my everything. I have a healthy working body. That is my everything, right? I lost a lot of personal stuff. I lost safety, right? I lost the feeling of not having a place, right? It's disorienting to not have a home.
Yeah.
It's disorienting as a human, right? To be like, I don't have a place to like that's safe that for me to go. But other times, right? Like I had other losses, other divorces, and I didn't really do the work. I was like, well, he sucked. Time to get a new one. I mean, right? Like, So this time it was ignorable, and and I've had friends who have gone through, right, because it was neighborhood. It was 15,000 people in my county who,
that's right.
Right, it was the beaches. It wasn't just me, right? It was a lot of people, and not everyone came out on top, right? Not some people kind of succumbed to the to the negativity and to the stress and to the loss. And, so I'm thankful that I had actually gotten myself kind of like mentally in shape before these things happened. And I think that's really what ended up saving me was I had been practicing some of these things, the community, the volunteering, the gratitude, the physical fitness, those things before the universe tested me. So I was already kind of battle ready.
You were there. And
Yeah.
what introduced you to all that?
I got the first time I got laid off, I actually had 3 months severance and I knew I was going back to my old job. And it was the first time, so it was the first time in my adult life that I didn't have a man to answer to. I didn't have a job to answer to. The bills were paid. And it was the first time I think in my entire life that I shifted out of survival mode, right? I grew up, I had a chaotic childhood. I did not have a happy childhood. It was what it was. And I just perpetuated those things in my relationships and within myself for 20 years, right? I was never good enough. It was never enough, right? The answer was always that I was unlovable. There was something wrong with me. And what could I do just to fix myself? And I took those 3 months and I was like, again, we're going to just sit down and just like, right, we got to get a handle on this. We're 43. We got to figure this out, And I stopped drinking. That was a big part for me. I stopped drinking. I did a crap ton of hot yoga and breath work and meditation. I got back on the path. And, without those 3 months preparation, I think that I probably would have crumbled with all of this. But I had 3 months and I shifted myself out of that survival mode. Quite frankly, for the first time in my entire adult life, was I able to actually relax and be creative and think about the future, not just how do I get through this week, this month, this year.
Do you ever stop and think about the generations or that you just, the cycle breakers that you just broke,
Mm,
especially as you turn to look at your daughter?
I do. I do. Now you're gonna make me cry.
Well,
Right?
it's a real thing. You just broke
It
a
is.
lot, all in one lifetime, all in the span of a few years, just because you took time, you stopped, and you focused on yourself and what matters most.
It is.
And the impact that'll have on your own lineage for the next hundreds of years
Yeah.
is insane when you really think about it. Yes, it's amazing you did it in this lifetime, but the impact will be for lifetimes to come. And I think that is just a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's awesome.
Thank you for
Well,
saying that. Thank
well,
you.
it's true. It's
Well,
true.
it's good to
Uh,
hear, Thank you.
in true She Sweet fashion, I end every episode the same. And that is, even though the whole episode ends up being advice, what piece of advice could you give to people that are listening now, uh, that you feel called to share?
Yeah, I would say have a vision for yourself, right? So many of us, we spend our lives running from a past version of ourselves, right? Someone we don't want to be, something we don't want to have. And as you said, right, where focus goes, energy flows. I would say take some time and have a vision for yourself. Listen, it doesn't have to be curing cancer $1 million, but how do you want to feel? Who do you want to be? What impact do you want to have in the world? What does your 80-year-old self want? And just take some time. And if you can't, if you have no dreams, if you were like, girl, I don't have dreams, that's crazy. I got a load of laundry and bills to pay. And that's a sign that you're still in survival mode. And then maybe, look into that. But yeah, I would say have a vision for yourself. Have something for yourself, just for you that you want and focus on that.
Sass, thank you. This conversation was everything. I knew it was going to be good, but you delivered in every way. If today resonated with you, please reach out to Sass. Her details are in the show notes. Whether you're in the thick of a transition, coming out of one, or just starting to ask yourself the questions you've been putting off, she's doing the work, and she wants to help you do it too. And here's what I want you to walk away with. Have a vision for yourself, not for anyone else, not the title, not the timeline someone else handed you. How do you want to feel? Who do you want to be? And if you can't answer that right now, Sass said it best. That's not a character flaw, that's a sign. Take the step back and find out why. If this episode moved you, share it. Send it to a woman who has been holding it all together while quietly losing herself in the process. Leave us a review. Tell a friend. This community grows because of you, and I'm so grateful you're here. Remember, your life is your story to tell. Why not make it extraordinary? Until next time, I'm Dahlia. Thanks for being here.